Guys, hello. Um, this is not the normal podcast setup. There's a reason this episode is only going to be on YouTube and not on Spotify. The audio is messed up. I can't get the mics to work. So in the video, me and Nick are both going to be holding microphones, and neither one of them are going to be used at all during the entire process. And that is all my fault. I made a rookie mistake and thought that I was smart enough to fix it and to do it in the first place. It won't be a problem moving forward. I know what I did wrong. I just can't fix it now, or it would never get done, and it'd be done poorly. And at this point, the content was so good in the podcast, like I felt so good about it that I didn't want to just remake it because that doesn't feel real. That goes against the spirit of what this podcast is. It wouldn't feel genuine. It wouldn't feel like the experience. So I appreciate the troopers who were going to be willing to sit through and listen to the bad audio. But I edited a little bit. I touched it up a little bit. I did the best I could. And I love you guys. And thank you so much. Let's jump in.
Hey everybody. Welcome back. This is What Else Is There? Today we're going to be going over the topic of sadness. And I'm joined by one of my best friends here, Nick O'Brien. Nick.
Hello.
Hello. Nick is one of my besties for the resty, my faux L, as some would say, and I asked him if he would join me for today's topic because I really felt as though he could give us some beautiful insight. And so today's going to be a little different. Normally I'm talking to you guys like a 1-on-0 conversation, and today we're going to have a 1-on-1 conversation.
Yeah.
So it's going to be kind of my same note system, but I gave Nick the notes. He went over it. He went over the scripture that I put in there. Stuff that I would normally just kind of share with you guys directly. But now I'm going to share it with Nick, and Nick's going to share it back with me, and then we're going to share it with you. And so I'm not going to be looking at the camera nearly as much because obviously I want to give my respect and my time to Nick. But today we can go ahead and jump on in. I'm going to start in scripture, as you should. And I'm going to read Psalm 13, 1-6. This kind of embodies the idea of sadness for me. And something that I feel like when I read it, the first time I read it, I felt like I was really able to resonate with it. Like I really felt connected with what David was saying here. So I'm going to go ahead and read it. How long, Lord, will you continue to ignore me? How long will you pay no attention to me? How long must I worry and suffer in broad daylight? How long will my enemy gloat over me? Look at me, answer me, O Lord my God. Revive me, or else I will die. Then my enemy will say, I have defeated him. Then my foes will rejoice because I am shaken. But I trust in your faithfulness. May I rejoice because of your deliverance. I will sing praises to the Lord when he vindicates me. It's good stuff.
That is, yeah, it's very good stuff.
It's very good. Remember the mic. Remember the mic. So going into it, I mean, we can just talk about initial things on the scripture itself.
I think it's very strong language, right out of the gate. I think in the notion you have written down, like, how long, Lord, will you forget me forever? Will you forget me? Like,
Yeah.
just very strong language. You can tell that David is feeling very deeply.
Yeah, I think it's hard because a lot of us, like, we go through our daily lives and most of the stuff, like, we feel really forgotten.
Yeah.
For me, at least, I'm able to really look at the people I have around me and understand that, like, I have people who love me.
Yeah.
But with that being said, like, I still, like, I will lie to myself and say, I can't text them. Like, they don't need this right now. Like, I understand so much of what they have going on in their life that I don't want to bother them with what's going on in mine. And so I see that inside of this. Like, I see the struggles that I have with other people the same way that I see the struggles that I have with God.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, my relationship with the Lord, like, I see God as one of my friends.
Yeah.
And so, as much as I see him as as my father, as my provider and stuff like that. And so, with that comes, like, I don't want to burden him. I don't want to burden my friends. I don't want to burden God because, like, these are my problems. But then I get, like, angry. And I'm like, how long are you going to forget me? Like, I'm still here. What are you going to do? But it's hard when you look at the how long must I wrestle with my thoughts and day after day have sorrow in my heart. The one specifically where it says, I don't know what translation I put in the notions, but my Bible is different. Where he says, revive me or else I will die. Like, look at me, answer me, O Lord my God, revive me or else I will die. Like, that's insane. Like, I get that.
Yeah.
Like, that hit me the first time I ever read it.
Of course, I think, well, I don't know, I guess I'm making an assumption, but like death, it doesn't mean like just die. It means, well, I mean, I guess two ways.
I mean, it could.
It can mean like death through sin, like you just fall into sin, or like death, like permanent death in hell, you know?
Yeah, and
I guess both ways.
And we'll jump into specifically like the idea of temptation when it comes to like death and that correlation later when it comes to sadness. Yeah. But yeah, no, totally. I definitely think it can mean. I definitely think that he's not just insinuating like physical
I'm
death.
gonna die. Yeah.
Now, but isn't that the feeling we get when we're sad?
Yeah.
Isn't that what you feel like? I'm
like I can just curl up in a ball.
I'm just gonna curl up in a ball and die. Yeah. And that's just how it is. I'm just gonna have to get over it.
Yeah.
That's definitely the feeling I get a lot of times whenever I'm sad. I do kind of want to move into the sequencing points.
Yeah.
With the initial point of sadness is a human emotion caused by the natural, sinful condition of the world. And that can be traced back to Adam and Eve.
Yes.
Okay, now I read something the other day, and it made me cry really hard. And I feel bad, like I feel weird saying that.
Yeah.
But I boo-hooed, like I baby cried. And I sent it to a few of my friends. And it said, it was this TikTok about thinking about, like, just like ideas of the Bible that no one ever talks about. And one of them was, I wonder what stories Adam told his children about the Garden of Eden, and do you think it killed him to have to think about it?
Yeah.
And I cried, dude. I cried so hard because I was like, I can't imagine having to tell my children about the downfall, like me causing the downfall of humanity, but also just like the beauty of what the Garden of Eden would be, like sinless and perfect and beautiful in nature and everything, and me having to be like, well, we don't live there anymore. Like we have to
because of me,
and because of me and your mother. We we did this.
Yeah.
And so I boohooed, but like it's true. Like sadness is such a natural human emotion that isn't new. Like this isn't a new thing for God.
I mean, everyone feels sadness, and everyone has felt sadness at one point in humanity.
Yeah. Yes. And so it's weird because. It's funny to look at it because, like, a lot of times the biggest reminder for me is that this isn't something new. Like, God has done this before.
Yes.
And so thinking about having to think of, like, Adam having to deal with that sadness forever ago, the first man ever created. Yeah. And then that's followed us all down the line because it's a natural, sinful world that we live in, and sadness is a part of evil. And we'll get into it a little bit later, but it's also a part of good.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask is all sadness caused by sin?
I wouldn't say so. Like, it depends though. Like, there's a difference in sadness and sorrow, or like mourning.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
True.
And so there's a lot that goes into that idea, but no, I wouldn't say I would not say that sadness is entirely caused by sin. Like, I don't think it's all from sin. I think there are definitely special cases where it's not. But I do think there's a difference in sadness and sorrow.
Yeah, definitely.
But like sadness, moving on, like sadness is an extremely natural and healthy experience. You can experience sadness as long as you're willing to bring that to the Lord. Me and you have personally talked about something like this before, where it's like, I have cussed out God before, and that's such a crude way to put it. But like, of course I have. But that's like, I've been angry at God. You're a liar if you say you've never been angry at God.
It's part of bringing everything to God. Like, that's what we're called to do as Christians. It's so easy to bring only the good stuff. You know, like everything's going right in your life. Oh, I'm just gonna thank God. Like, I'm so grateful. Everything's going right. But the moment something goes wrong, we forget about God and we say like, oh, like not that you're not going to bring it to God, but like we just kind of forget about God and we think about, oh, like what did I do wrong? This is my problem. Like,
well, a lot of times we think that God's forgotten us. Like, you know, as much as we forget about God, it's like we feel like God's forgotten about us.
Yeah, exactly.
But do you not do you think that's part of like how you've grown up? Because like for me personally, I had a very supportive family, even when I was a turd in a punch bowl, as they say. And with that came that is a weird expression. With that came the idea of even though I had a super supportive family, as a child I still felt as though I didn't want to disappoint them because they were there for me. Like I didn't want to disappoint them because I didn't want to bring them something bad.
Yeah.
I only wanted to bring good news. So if bad news came up, I wouldn't bring it up. Like I wouldn't bring it to them.
Yeah.
And so I think that feeds a lot. Do you think that's a natural thing, or do you think that's from how you're growing up? Because like I said, like I had supportive parents.
Yeah, I think it's definitely about how you grew up too, because, or at least that's a big factor in it.
Yeah.
Because I think if you have very supportive parents and like an open line of communication, like they're like, oh, you know you can bring anything to them and they'll be supportive.
Yep.
Then you're more likely to be open to God as well, I think.
I believe that. I think you're probably more open to the idea of God as the Father.
Yes.
And God as a provider.
Yes.
I think God as a friend would be hard because like being a good parent kind of entails you not being necessarily a friend to your child. Like you like loving. It's like a hard kind of love. Like
you want to raise them as best you can to prepare them.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily like, we're gonna have a good time.
Yeah. Says the two people who have no kids.
Yeah. No experience whatsoever.
Says the two people who have no experience having children. But yes, but very true. Gosh, that's so funny. This next point, I've talked about this a lot, and it has a lot to do with your brain, and I think it does have a lot to do with nature and nurture, but it's also just like a human thing. It's a universal experience. It's as much as we tell ourselves that God loves us or something in that wheelhouse, in our difficult times, we must understand that naturally we will not accept that as a good answer. This doesn't mean that we ignore foundational truth like the fact that God loves us and that he will never leave us. But it does mean that we'll be like, yeah, I know God loves us. You know what I mean? Like we'll like brush it off.
Kind of take it for granted.
Yeah. We'll definitely look at it and go like, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool, I know that. Yeah. But like you don't live like it.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You may know it, but you don't act like it.
Yeah.
But that's simplifying it a bit too much. Because what I'm trying to get at is we don't believe it.
Sometimes.
I definitely have moments where I'm like, dude, this is what blessed and highly favored feels like. You know what I mean? Like I definitely have those moments where I'm like, this is what blessed and highly favored looks like. But I also have moments where I'm like, yeah, this doesn't feel very love. Like this does not feel like love.
That's my mom's biggest problem with Christianity. I think, and like her gripe about it is like, or I guess about God is like, horrible things happen to good people. So why does that happen? And why does God do that? You know.
And obviously we've talked about stuff like that. Yeah. But personal opinion on the matter is not everything happens for a reason. God doesn't cause those things to other people. I fully believe that's biblical.
It's part of the natural sinful state of the world.
There are. I do believe there are spiritual evils. There's a certain word for it that I'm getting wrong here, but it's spiritual evils and natural evils, and I can't think of.
I don't know.
Spiritual is what's wrong with it, but there is like a natural evil in the world, and cancer is one of them. Now there's a lot that you can dive into in the Bible when it comes to like sins of the father, generational curses, stuff like that. A lot of that is genetic stuff. That's addiction. That's that's stuff that's passed down. But I would also argue that is a natural evil.
Yeah, for sure.
We live in a sinful world, and I don't think God made anyone drink and drive. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think God made anybody hurt anybody else. To innocent people. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so, but I can see that struggle is extremely real because as a church, we spend so much time talking about how sovereign God is and how all-knowing and how all-powerful he is, and we don't exactly get into the details of, does that mean he does everything? Yeah. Like, is he extremely hands-on with every little thing? Yeah. And that's on churches, but some churches do believe it, and some churches don't. And so it's kind of one of those things that now people are so split over it that nobody talks about, including us. So
I think that brings up a good point though as well. Just in general, this kind of tangent, but like, I think it's really important to talk about sadness, what we're talking about today. And I mean, just your podcast in general, like human emotions from the Bible. It's something that churches, I feel like, don't talk about very much. And just people in Christianity don't talk about that much. And it's so central to it's everything that we are. Emotions, right? So
and with thank you, but with that came like thank you. But the biggest, like my favorite episode I've actually recorded or written is the one that I just really regret. Not this one. This one's second. Is regret, and it's because I thought what you just said. Why don't we talk about this?
Yeah.
But here I have thought about it. A lot of times, like people don't want to know that they can control their emotions to some extent.
Yeah, almost because then you start feeling responsible for your emotions. Then it's your fault.
Yeah. Because like my whole thing is like we are extremely emotional beings, and that is okay. It is okay to be extremely emotional beings. It is not okay to let your extreme emotions control you.
Yeah.
You are fully validated in the fact that you feel sad, mad, whatever it is about whatever's happening. You cannot let it control and dictate your life. It's like you shouldn't let regret dictate your life. You shouldn't let sadness dictate your life. You know what I mean? You shouldn't.
That's part of bringing it to God as well. I think is letting it go, putting it in God's hands, and not really letting it dictate your life.
And you know what I've noticed about the idea of letting it go is that we word it really badly. Like, not like we, but, well, yes, but like average Christians.
Yeah.
Because like I've talked to a lot of people our age, and they're like, just give it. It's called like it's something about like give it to God and let it go or something like that. Let it go, give it to God, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm getting it so wrong. But but give it to
what is he talking about?
What is he talking about? Everyone just click off. Give it to God. Oh, bro, it's let go and let God. That's what it is. You ever heard that?
No.
It's dumb. Either way. It's not a bad idea, but letting go isn't the right term. That's not the right term. You don't, when you pray for something, to give it to God, that isn't like okay, your problem now, God. That's not a tap your head. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. You need to giving it to God is more like okay, dude, I can't do this alone. Like, I need your help. Yeah, it's not like it's not like a
spotter at the gym.
Tag, you're it. Sorry. Yeah, it's like a spotter at the gym. It's like, all right, get on me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like and so when you pray for something and you ask for something, it's not no longer on you. Like it is still also your thing that you have requested God's like power and love and mercy onto.
Yeah, exactly.
And what's hard is that has always made sense to me.
Yeah.
But nobody.
I mean, I haven't heard that until now. Like,
I know people that they'll be like, I prayed about it, I'm done with it. That's not how that works.
Really?
That's not how that works. But I get it, but that's what they're being taught.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because, I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. But it's not that they're being taught to pray about it and forget about it. They're being taught to give it to God, and that's the extent of it. If you're having a problem, give it to God. Well, that's not the only step. That's not the only thing left in the process.
Yeah.
Give it to God means like, now we're a team. You should give everything to God.
It's like, God, I just lost my job. I need a new job.
God, give me a new job. And now we're just sitting there watching TV.
Yeah.
God, I need a new job. And you put the headphone back on and you're playing like COD. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's not how it works. You have to keep, there is effort required on your part.
Yes.
In what relationship? In what relationship is it no longer on you when you tell your partner?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
you work on it together.
If me and you, like with the disc golf club stuff.
Yeah.
When I tell you about something, I don't go, okay, this is all you. Now it's like, well, what do we need to do moving forward?
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's how
relationships.
That's how relationship. That's how partnership works.
Yeah.
And so why wouldn't it be the same with God?
Yeah, exactly.
And so let go and let God is a dumb term. It's a silly term, to say it nicely. But it's because that's as far as people go in the sentence whenever they're preaching about it.
Yeah. Now, I will say, like, there are scenarios and, like, situations where something is truly out of our control.
Yes.
I think that's not really what we're talking about, but I just kind of want to say that because there are things.
But my point with that is, my idea with that is prayer not an action?
Oh yeah, no, you're praying about it still.
That's what I'm saying. Like you actively pursue that goal. If it's something that you can't control, you actively pursue that goal through prayer.
That makes sense. So there's still kind of action required too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, you're still working towards something.
What was it that you said as well? This is kind of tangent, but in the first episode, you said like not praying is kind of like saying, "Oh God, I can do this on my own."
Yeah, not praying is in a weird way prideful.
Yeah.
Even out of being scared, it's prideful.
Yeah.
And prideful is like this really strong word.
Yeah.
And so people think it's like really mean and really big and really brash. But it's not. Like we all struggle with pride issues, whether we have too much pride or too little pride.
Yeah.
There is a smooth spot when it comes to
there's a gray area. I don't know. I don't know.
We don't know.
Smooth spot. I have no idea.
Sweet spot. There's a sweet spot with pride. By the way, there is like a sweet spot, smooth spot, a gray area. There's a sweet spot with pride. Like you shouldn't have too little. You should trust that the Lord is there for you and that you have something so powerful in your corner fighting for you as long as you're according to His will.
Yeah.
But you shouldn't have too much pride and say, well, I don't need it. God's got me here. I think I've got it from here.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not how it works. If you should give everything to God constantly and consistently, then what is pride doing to you? I mean, you're just bounding yourself to fail.
Yeah.
And so yeah, not praying is like telling God, well, I got this. And a lot of times, my point with that in the first episode was, well, like I don't want to bother you. The same thing that we're talking about here. I don't want to, hey God, I can do this one. You've done so much for me. I can do this. Or it can be, don't worry about it, dude. Like I'm pretty good.
Yeah.
It can be either one of those things.
Yeah.
It can be too much pride or too little pride.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you.
Thank you for filling in that sit gap. I needed that. Now we're back.
Yeah.
Now we're back into the main idea. We just talked about how, as much as we tell ourselves God loves us, it's hard for us to actually grasp that as people and live that way constantly. We have moments of that, but
yes, for sure.
To that point, we go over in the Bible, like so many people have dealt with sadness, including Jesus.
Yep.
One of the shortest verse in the Bible, John 11:35, right? John 11:35.
That's a whole verse.
Jesus wept. Yes.
Wow.
Jesus wept, which is Lazarus' death. Now here's the funny thing about. Have you ever read anything about Lazarus' death? Like I'm sure you've heard
a
stuff.
while ago.
Yeah,
it's not like fresh on my mind.
So here's what's funny about it. Jesus knew Lazarus was dying, and He waited, and He was really slow to get there. He essentially waited for Lazarus.
Yeah, Lazarus.
Sorry, my lisp is getting me. Lazarus to die.
Yep.
And then He gets there, and He mourns, and He mourns, and He mourns, and Jesus wept, and then He goes, all right, enough of this. And then he's like, all right, cool. And then He's like, got it. Ha, got you guys. But no, He's not like, ha, got you guys. But when you look at it, isn't that kind of like hearing that now, what does that make you think of the story? He waited, and then He mourned, and then He raised him. But He knew that He could raise him. He knew what He was going to do.
Yeah, I mean, He, of course, like all knowing, like He knew the instant that Lazarus was going to die before He did.
Well, He received news as well. Like, He received news, and then He waited after news.
Well, like, even after the news, I mean, of course, Jesus can do anything, right? He can instantly heal him at any time. He waits for him to die.
He didn't have to go and heal him. He go to... BT dubs, I am God.
Maybe he just wanted to see him. I don't know.
He just wanted... Jesus wanted to mourn.
Yeah.
Jesus felt all the emotions that we felt.
Yes.
And so that's... Jesus wanting to mourn is kind of a weird way to put it, but I mean, Jesus waited. Why else would He wait? Part of it is, I gotta raise this dude from the dead. Or I'm gonna raise this dude from the dead. I'm gonna show y'all that I can do it.
Yeah, that might have been... Okay, so I'm trying to think. A point that was made a while ago, not in this podcast, but was like Jesus does like the miracles that Jesus does are not for this was at D group. The miracles that Jesus does are not for like the benefit of one person.
Yeah.
It's for the benefit of the kingdom. It's for the benefit of God, to glorify God.
Well,
and so
yeah.
what he did raising Lazarus right here instead of just like healing him instantly was like it might have been something to glorify God with.
Yep. I am God.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys, the Trinity thing, well, Trinity wasn't introduced yet, I guess. It's not Acts, but like he's like, hey God, hey guys, remember all that stuff I've been talking about?
Yeah.
Like, and he's alive. Like, he did like a magic trick. He's like, oh, can I get 2 assistants to hold the sheet over, please? And then he's like, for my next trick, I will raise Lazarus from the dead. And Lazarus just like, what? This is crazy. And then he's like, wait a minute, I'm alive. And then no, but Jesus felt sorrow. And this is kind of what I was talking about, the difference between sadness and sorrow. Like, Jesus felt sorrow for loss. Like, this was grief.
Yes. Not caused by sin.
Not caused by sin. Lazarus died. This is grief. This is caused by love. I would argue. I mean, this in particular is caused by love.
Oh.
You know, I know.
Connection.
Now we're there. But I mean, the prophet Elijah. Do you remember anything about Elijah?
Yes. He was the one that had the ceremony, or not the ceremony, the offering.
Yes.
And then they drove him out.
Kind of an offering. So Elijah was the dude who was like, there were two idols.
Yes.
And Elijah was like, douse mine with water. Because they were going to see if they could like light it on fire.
Yes.
Elijah was like, light mine. He said, flood mine with water. And he was like, do it. I dare you. And so they buckets and buckets and buckets of water. And then he goes, God, do your thing. And then fire to dumb it down a little bit. And then there a lot more happened. And then he scrammed. He was getting chased.
Yeah.
And then he sits under a tree and he goes, God, kill me. My time's over.
Yeah.
Like, I want to die. He was extremely depressed. He was isolated.
thought he failed, didn't he? Because he wasn't able to convert them.
Well, kind of. Yeah, there was a lot of like internal monologue kind of stuff going on. Like, and there was a lot going on. The main point was that he was isolated. He was depressed, and he was just kind of like, he was like, God, kill me. My time's up. Take me from this world. I don't deserve to be here. Not like I don't deserve to be here. I need to be up there kind of thing. He was like, I don't even deserve to walk this earth anymore.
Yeah.
And so God was like, bro, take a nap and eat something. And he did. And Elijah was like, I feel so much better. And so, which it is funny. Well, this kind of shows like this isn't something new. Elijah wanted to commit suicide. Like Elijah wanted to die. And this isn't like when someone's like, this is such a sensitive topic, but this isn't like when someone who is suicidal is like, I'm planning on doing it. This is Elijah talking to a God who just proved himself real and has proved himself real over and over again and begging him to take his life. Like this is like, in Elijah's head, this is surefire death.
Yes.
No mess ups. Like this is the creator of the universe. He can probably take me out. Like he knows. And so that's what's tough about like it's real. Like Elijah, this was like I'm communicating with this guy one-on-one. The creator of the universe takes me out.
Yes.
And so like when I bring that up, like Elijah was oppressed. He was isolated. This isn't new. Like this is stuff that like we all still struggle with. Me personally, I mean, you know, we all have struggled with this at some point.
Yeah.
Not everybody struggles with depression. I do believe that most people have struggled through depressive states.
For sure.
Because that's a part of sadness. It's just an extreme form of sadness in a depressive state.
Yes.
And so I do believe people have dealt with that. But when for me personally, one of the biggest thoughts for me was like, God doesn't want to handle my mess. Dude, this coffee is killing me right now. I was like, God doesn't want to handle my mess. And so I didn't deal with it. Like I was just like, whatever, I'll handle it. And me handling it was like, I'm just gonna push it aside, do whatever I want, and figure it out later. But then one day it hit me, I was like, this isn't new. Shocker, the creator of the universe knows what this is. Like this isn't something like, I don't have to explain this to God. So God, what depression is when there's a chemical imbalance. And it's like, I don't have to know it. God knows.
Yes.
Hey, I'm here. He's like, I'm locked in, I know. He's like, I've been reading. God's like, I've been reading books, bro. I'm in. He's like, I've been watching YouTube.
Dude, that was like 19th century.
Dude, I came up with that. Look at it. Like, he's like, I literally know. I saw it firsthand. Like, I know. But no, man, it's funny. It's a funny concept because you're like, oh. I talked about this in my last episode where it was, which actually I said, I don't know when I'm posting this one. I might stitch this one into next week actually. But in episode 6 or 7, it depends where I put this one in, worship. The episode that I talked about worship.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what my point was going to be. what was I talking about?
Worship, I don't know.
No, before that, what was I leading into that?
Depression. Suicidal thoughts?
Sorry guys, I don't know. sorry, I don't remember. I don't remember my point. Something about worship, something about God, seen it before.
I don't know. What was the prophet's name? That was depressed.
Elijah?
Yeah,
Man, it's gone. It's gone good. It's because I thought too much about the episodes. Anyways, if it comes back to me, I'll bring it up. But if it doesn't, then too bad. You'll see it when you see it.
I think the point is of this section, like,
God has seen it.
Jesus has gone through it on earth. God has seen this in almost every human.
Yeah.
And I would argue every human in terms of sadness, I guess.
At some capacity.
Yes.
Every person's dealt with this.
Yes. So it's not new. Bring it to God.
No, it's not.
He can help you.
BT does bring it to God.
Let go, let God.
Let go, let God. Let go. In my house? Have you ever seen those prayers where it'll be like Thanksgiving and the son will be like, no, I'll pray. And then like all the family bows their head and he's just reading the sign and it's like, for me in my house, we will praise the Lord. Amen. And as he's just reading that sign,
No.
I saw one where he said like 4 signs in a row. Then he goes, amen. And mom goes, I mean, that is just beautiful. And she goes, that is just beautiful. I mean, where did you get that? And he goes, it's almost like it's just right in front of my face. And it was so funny. He said, I don't know. It just came to me. It just came to me in a dream. Getting back on topic, sadness can cause us to do a lot of stuff, right?
Yes.
So sadness kind of engulfs the idea of grief, but sadness as a whole, and however that puts us, however like we feel that sadness, whether it's grief, sorrow, mourning, whatever that is, it can cause us to do several things. It can cause us to make moral failures, which is a fancy church way of, if you're talking about someone made a moral failure in a church, that means they probably cheated on their wife. Like that's what that means.
Yeah.
But if you're just talking general, moral failures would be any decision that is out of character, that affects like the view of
you
your
know it's wrong as well. I think when I think of like moral
failures are like a decision.
It's part of
their
your
decision. They're not a mistake.
Yeah. You did that like on purpose.
They can cause you to lose yourselves. Now, sometimes, here's the difference between lose yourself and die to yourself, right? Losing yourself is like, if you heard the term die to yourself in
like
a church,
become a new person,
born again.
Yep.
That's a great thing.
Yep.
Losing yourself is the Eminem song. No, losing yourself is like, have you ever said to yourself, I think I'm just losing myself. I'm not myself anymore.
I thought it was
like in a bad way. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was.
I have had moments, dude. You know when it gets dark outside, and you're like, man, it's a sad world. So I've laid in my bed before. Scratch that. I've sat on this couch with my feet up, like watching the movie, not the movie, watching and looking up.
Yeah,
and just being like, hi, my name is, I forgot his name. And I've been like, I don't think I know who I am. And it's like recent modern. It's like a recent. And I'm like, gosh, who am I?
Yeah.
And then I wake up and I'm like, I know who I am. Like, the sun will come up and I'll be like, okay, well, I'm great. I'm great. I know who I am. I know what I do. I know what I'm about. Like,
I can't say that I've ever done that specifically, but I mean, some form of that, maybe.
I can't say. I struggle with that. Maybe it's Nick's podcast now. Maybe Nick is more entitled to this podcast than I am, because that's crazy. Anyways, do you have anything to say on like the sadness can cause us to do stuff? Like you can lose ourselves, form bad habits, and this one's actually really important to push those who love us away.
Yes.
And that's crazy.
I mean, okay, I have a good point about that, and I think I did this a lot freshman year. When I just got to college, I didn't really have a lot of friends in high school. So when I come to college, I'm not really like used to having people ask me to go out and hang out, you know, like that sort of thing. Like, so I would always think like, oh, like they would, I don't know, like people would go out and they wouldn't say something, or like they would go out and I don't know, like go without me. Yeah. And it's not like they didn't invite me. Like, okay, this is something I didn't realize at that point. It's not that they didn't invite me, but I was implicitly like invited.
Yeah.
But like,
why wouldn't you be invited?
Exactly. Yeah. So I would kind of tell myself this lie, and I think a lot of people do this of like, like, man, they don't like
They
me.
don't
I'm just
want
gonna
me
shut
there.
myself
Yeah.
in more, like close my door, just
Yep.
stay in my room. And I think a lot of people do that.
Yeah.
It's a bigger problem than I think a lot of people make it out to be. It's like self-induced loneliness.
Yeah, no, of course, isolation is one of the biggest issues when it comes to how people deal with their depression.
Yeah.
And I kind of had the opposite effect. I was like super popular in high school.
Oh, okay.
No, but I had close-knit friends that I grew up with,
Yeah.
and like I was never unsure that I was invited.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got to college, the problem was I had 0 friends.
Yeah.
It was fall of 2020. It was COVID. I had people who I met through someone else that graduated from the same high school as them that are now at UAH. And those are like one of them is my closest friend that I have.
Yeah.
And so I saw another one of them on campus a couple weeks ago, and I go, you know what's weird? We were like necessity friends. We were all we had, because like we had nothing in common.
Yes.
And now we don't hang out because we don't really like each other that much. Like it's not like we got along, and like we would go to dinner, like all of us would go to dinner and stuff. We'd all laugh, we'd have fun. But like outside of that, like it's outside of like the weekly event or something like that.
It's like you don't have deep conversations at 2 a.m. with this person.
No,
Yeah.
we had to be friends.
Yes.
Outside of like one of us, like outside of one of the people in the main group, that they were all necessity friends.
Yes.
Which sounds really mean, but like it's like when you go to a new job and you meet those people who you're like, man, I would never hang out with you outside of work, but like you're cool here.
Yeah.
That's a necessity friend.
Yeah.
Because I have a few people that I work with that like I do talk to outside of work, and I love seeing them outside of work. Andrew, who comes to Kyle.
Yeah, Andrew
Taylor, I love him, and I met him at work.
Yeah.
Love that guy. I hang out with him all the time.
Yeah.
Some people I work with, I'm keeping you in the back room of Publix. Like I'm not. Yeah. Hey, good job. Just stay right there. Yeah. No closer to COVID.
Yeah.
6 feet. And so
I don't think that's a bad thing though. Like
no,
you know that
you need to keep certain like. I don't really do this anymore, but in high school I had church friends, and then I had basketball friends, then I had school friends.
Yeah.
And then the girl I was dating, like I had my girlfriend's friends. You know what I mean? Like I had like not different lives. Like I was still grading. I was still the same grade. Well, I wasn't the same grade in that church as I was like to my basketball friends. It was a rough time. It was a weird time. I wasn't a bad kid, but I wasn't a great kid. I definitely had to go back and go on my apology world tour to a lot of to pastors and like teachers in particular.
Yeah.
Except for a few teachers, bro. They were wrong. They were
oh,
wrong.
really?
They were wrong. But the point of that was I got to college, and those necessity friends, when I isolated myself, when I was going through a bunch, when I isolated myself, mine wasn't like I'm not reaching out to these people. It's I'm not allowing them to reach out to me. Like people were still reaching out to me. I would like put my phone away, put my watch away, like get no contact. But I would have to force the no contact. Like I was ignoring people.
Yeah.
Which sounds like people care about you. People.
Why do you think?
I was sad, and I didn't want to have to explain it to others.
Yeah.
I was extremely depressed. Like I didn't know how to explain my suicidal thoughts to other people in a way that didn't make me seem cowardice. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And looking back now, I understand that like going through that is like a really strong character developing thing. And I'm so glad that I did, because I would have never been nearly as in touch with myself or with like emotions in general of others. Like I believe that's the only reason that I'm semi-emotionally intelligent now.
Yeah.
Now the downside of being emotionally intelligent is you intellectualize all of your pain.
Yes.
So I go through something and I'm able to go, well, I shouldn't feel that way. Well, that's not the point. You do.
You do.
You do feel that way.
Yeah.
Like I'm able to go like, say you say something mean to me, but it's a joke.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you don't mean it, but I still receive it as me.
Yes.
I'll go, I'll sit there and I'll go, well, I mean, it's Nick. He doesn't actually think that.
Yeah.
But I'm still hurt. I didn't deal with the hurt.
Yeah.
All I did was understand it. Yeah. Understanding is a great part of dealing with it. But if all you do is understand, like the root of it, and then you don't move forward,
there's no point.
Great.
It's
great. Now you've never healed. Yeah. Now you've never healed. Now you have all this stuff pent up.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, to push those who love us away, that's a huge thing.
Yes.
That sadness causes. I mean, that's probably my biggest point. Is that like, what is church for? What is your friend group for if not to support you?
Yes.
And not to be your community?
I think a good way to think about it as well is like if you have a good friend and they came to you with something,
Yep.
like how would you react? Like if they had suicidal thoughts or if they had some sadness that they're dealing with, some depression, right?
Yeah.
How would you deal with it? You'd be
Take
extremely
it from your
supportive.
side. Yeah.
You'd be so supportive. So that's how they're going to be to you. Not everyone is out to get you. I think
Yeah,
that's a good way
tough.
to put it.
That's tough. Yeah, that's tough for others to like understand. Like, not everyone's. Hey guys, some people care about you.
Yeah.
Some people love you and want
A lot
what's
of
best for
people
you. A
care
lot
about
of people. Most of the people in your life might actually care about you.
Yeah. And God does too.
Sheesh. Let's see. This is actually a really good point. This is kind of what I was talking about earlier with the whole art thing. Like why I got so much into art. It may be hard for us to see it, but sadness can help us see everything so differently in a positive way. That's appreciating art, appreciating nature, and appreciating people. The biggest thing for me has been art and nature and people, actually.
Wow, that's
wow.
every point you just
every point I just made.
That's awesome.
Everything that I wrote, I feel that's weird. That's weird.
What are the chances?
But what are the odds? But the point of it is like, I would have never appreciated people and loved people the way that I do now if I wouldn't have understood that like I went through something that was so devastating that I didn't feel like I should have made it through the other side.
Yeah.
And so like another thing is like I also understand the fact that even like so I've talked to a few people who've dealt with depression on cases that are worse than mine, or that are worse than what mine was. And so like, and I still struggle with suicidal thoughts and depressive states. I've gotten a lot better mentally just due to passions and a lot of prayer and and a lot of talking to God. But that's not to say that these other people haven't tried that and aren't consistently doing that. The conversation I've had are you can struggle with suicidal thoughts and still have a fully engaged relationship with the Lord.
Yes.
And like, cause like I told someone, I was like, I think the Lord fully redeemed me and saved my life.
Yes.
I also still know that I struggle with suicidal thought. Like I still know that.
Yes.
And so like, I don't think, but the point is like letting sadness dictate my life was not an option for me. Cause I got to the point where if it did, I was done.
Yes.
And I believe in that moment, God really pulled me out of it. And what's hard is that that's such an individual experience that I know that that's not how that works for everybody. Like I know people who are still at the bottom, and God is with them. And I couldn't tell you why God pulled me out when He did, but it's just how it was. Like that's just how it was.
I think I don't know. I can't just say the point you're trying to make, but like I think a point you're trying to make is that just because you feel sad or depressed or all these bad emotions does not mean that you did something wrong. It does not mean that you sinned.
Absolutely.
You can feel bad like that because of someone else's sin, an outside factor, that sort of thing.
Yep.
It does not mean that you did something wrong.
Someone else can do you wrong, and you feel so attached to that person that them leaving can still feel so devastating.
It can be out of love.
Or they do something that causes a chain reaction. Like some stuff just happens.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I'm not big on. I don't know, dude. I think this goes back into like the God doesn't do everything. Like hold on now. Heresy. Heresy. Hold on. No, like God doesn't cause every little thing to happen.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm trying to say is like, if God doesn't cause every little thing to happen, I don't think that. Man, I lost it. How did I lose 2 in an episode?
I don't know.
Man, that is crazy. What am I trying to say? I forgot what you said, honestly. No, it's fine.
I forgot what I said.
No. Huh.
Well, that's weird how that works.
None of this means anything. Well, heresy. The heresy is what really blew me for a loop. And I said, well, where is it?
I'm looking at it now. I think like another thing is just gratefulness. You realize like, I don't know, before you feel like that, you're like, you don't really realize what you have.
Yeah.
Every day that you are on this earth is a blessing.
Yeah.
From God. Like any time you could just be gone. So the feeling of gratefulness for each day is really powerful, I think.
And I go through in the episode that I talk about worship. I'll remember this one. I talked about how I saw this video of this girl who was talking about cleaning our house is worship. And my whole point was that taking care of what you have is worship. But to do that, you have to be grateful and you have to be thankful.
Yes.
And to do that, you have to be aware.
Yes.
And to do that, you have to be intentional about being aware. And so it's like this long process. But I fully agree. Like, you have to be grateful and you have to be thankful. Like, it is important and is extremely helpful if you are grateful and thankful for what the Lord has done for you. It is also, it's hard. It's hard because you have to be grateful and you have to be thankful. Or you need to be. You should. It makes everything way easier in sadness if you're able to sit around and look and be like, I do have things that are working for me. I do have people. I do. It is extremely
It's tough to get out of that rut of sadness, especially if you're just digging yourself deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
Because I think it's a lot easier to get through sadness when you have gratefulness. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't and you go into a period of sadness, it's tough. It's really tough to get out.
No, I agree. It's one of the biggest things for me is that whenever I went through all that crap is that, like, I remember someone said to me, like, something so crazy. They were like, it wasn't that crazy, but it was in the moment I was like, you're dumb.
Yeah.
They're like, what would your family think? And I'm like, bro, I couldn't care less about what my family, like, I could not care less right now about what this is.
Yeah.
But you don't, like, I fully believe, like, you do on a level of, like, gosh, that is sad. It makes you more sad. It makes you more, like, it made me more sad to think about the fact that, like when I was suicidal, like, whenever I was, like, planning stuff out, and, like, you know what I mean? It was difficult because I was looking at it, and I was going, man, I don't know what my next move is. All I know is that like, this is going to devastate a few people. And but that's not being aware enough. I was being, like, half aware. I was like, man, people are going to care. But I wasn't putting two together like, oh, people care about me then.
Yeah.
I wasn't
People care right now.
People are going to care about me. Oh, people do care about me. Like, that's why they're going to care, because they do care about me. Like,
yeah.
I didn't click. But no, I do think I was able to help other people so much. I've been able to help so many more people having gone through that, including Nicholas, I guess.
Yes.
Having gone through that, because I was able to have a better understanding of what I believe the Lord has done in my life and what He's doing in my life and stuff like that. And like I don't think if I don't go through that, I do this. Like, I don't think that I commit to doing this passion project and stuff.
It brought you another sense of appreciation.
Because like, I don't think I care. Like, I think, well, I'd be dead, I guess. But and so yeah, good point. And so I don't think I'd care enough. Like, I don't think I'd be emotionally aware enough to do this. All that.
Yeah.
Another good point is that God is with us through our sadness. Whether that's out in the world or that's crying on your bathroom floor. I don't know why I put that specifically, probably because I've been there specifically.
I mean, it's just, a depiction of someone's lowest moment.
Yep, dude. Look, I'm going to tell you right now, I've slept fully clothed on the floor before, just in tears. Like, I've done it before.
Wow.
I've done it before. Flex. I've done it. Yeah. Huge depressive state flex. Let me see. Oh, I'm going to jump straight into Psalm 23, which is my favorite verse ever, or my favorite, like, section of scripture ever. I'm going to look at specifically 23:4, and we've all heard this. We've all heard this probably a billion times.
Yep.
Even when I must walk through the darkest valley, I fear no danger, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff reassure me. I mean, that's what we just said.
Yeah. I think, well, I mean, of course, it's Psalm 23. You have to bring up, don't give the enemy a seat.
That's true. Don't give the enemy a seat at the table.
But, like, just God is with you at every moment of your life.
Yep.
God is with you. If you're going through the toughest stage of your life, if you're going through temptation, if you're going through a great part of your life, God is there with you, inviting you to sit down with Him.
Yeah. What do you think that looks like? On like a real life example, like, what do you think, like, you're going through something, what do you think it looks like for God to be with you?
I think it means, like, you can always come to Him with whatever you have.
Okay.
I think it also means God has lived through that. Whatever you're going through right now, God has lived through that.
Yeah.
And so
Jesus did it. Yeah.
And so you taking a seat at His table is like you kind of pushing everything else to the side and focusing on Him. So I think as well, like the book gives a great example of like the creator of the universe.
Yeah.
Literally, like the creator of the universe, the creator of everything.
Yeah.
Is inviting you to sit down with him.
Yep.
And so, would you not prioritize that?
Would you not want to?
Yeah.
What are you not going to do that?
Would you not push everything else out of the way to sit down at that table?
He's talking about Don't Let the Enemy Out of Your Table by Louis Giglio.
Yes.
Which is probably one of my favorite books ever. And will be forever. He has my
It's a great
copy
book.
right now, so I can't reread it for the 8th time. But it's really good. It's really good. What's also kind of crazy about, so when I was at Caiaphas Fall Retreat, don't know where you were, but Josh from University of Alabama, the director over there,
Yes.
he was speaking, and he was like, I want you guys to imagine what sitting at a table with the Lord looks like for you.
Yes.
Which is funny that it ties into this. And I gave an answer that I felt was pretty good, but was extremely vulnerable and very true for me, especially in that moment. My example was, I'm sitting on the front porch of my family farm in a rocking chair, kind of like Cracker Barrel rocking chair.
Yeah.
It's me, rocking chair, kind of angle.
Mm-hmm.
Table, Jesus, rocking chair, or God, rocking chair, kind of angle. We're both just looking. We're not looking at each other.
Oh, no checkers.
No checkers, not that Cracker Barrel.
Yeah.
Chess. And so we have glasses of sweet tea. I specifically said we have glasses of sweet tea.
Yeah.
And that we're just looking out. And I was like, we're just talking. And we never look at each other because there's no worry that either one of us are going to leave.
Yes.
Like, I don't have to, like, if he makes a sudden movement, I'm not worried that he's walking away.
Yes.
And same thing for me. And my point with that was, that's what I envision, like, intimacy as. Like, that felt extremely intimate to me, where it's like, we're just sitting and we're being with each other.
Yes.
And that's,
you don't even need to talk. Yeah.
we're not, because part of my answer was like, we're just sitting there talking about nothing, and we're also just in silence.
Yes.
And we're just enjoying what we're seeing.
Yes.
We're just watching. And that's kind of what it feels like for me when it comes to like sadness, where it's like, sometimes you just sit with God through it.
Yes.
But that's active. Like, that's prayer. That's reading your Bible. Like, that is action. That's not letting go and letting God. That's what giving it to God looks like.
Yes.
I'm sitting with, I'm recognizing, God, that you're sitting with me.
Yes.
And that we're doing this together.
Mm-hmm.
That's what that kind of looks like in my head.
I think that also brings up how you see God, which is like you see him as a friend.
Yep.
Foremost, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know, that's correct?
Yeah, no, I advocaately say, like, I will always say, God is my friend. He's also my father, he's also my provider, but first and foremost, I see God as one of my friends.
Like someone you can just sit there and
I can say anything to,
yeah.
I can be myself to, we can just sit there and I don't have to say a word, we can just look.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think as well that analogy that you brought up brings up a really good point of, it doesn't have to be like some elaborate, like fancy table, like sitting in a like
not
castle.
A king's castle, yeah.
Yeah. It can be literally like anywhere, anytime, on the couch, like in the cafeteria.
It can be what we're doing, it can be,
Yeah,
it can
like
be in the bus, it
anywhere.
can be in a car,
Anywhere, yeah. And you just sit there, God, he's with you at every point in your life.
Yeah, man.
No matter what you go through.
I think it's important that we identify how we see God.
Yeah, for sure.
Because the point of that practice that we did at Fall Retreat was they were specifically talking about how you see God in the way of like how you interacted with your parents, and understanding that how you interact with your parents and see your parents, that affects that.
Yes.
But I also think if you brought that up, I think that's how you see everybody. Like, I think that's how you interact with anybody ever. Like, I think that's just your subconscious of like, this is how people see me, this is how I see people.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm going to move into our last thing, the remember section. The remember section is what I really would love people to take away. What I really think that people should gather from this whole thing. And that is, sadness is a normal feeling that we will have with us through various times and circumstances of our lives. But as people who strive to love and be like Jesus, we must at the very least try to search for the benefits and the opportunities given to us through those moments, and understand that with these moments of strife comes discipline, endurance, and character.
Yes.
That sadness is something that you you'll deal with it till you die.
Yep.
There's a difference between joy and spiritual joy, I forgot, like heavenly joy and joy.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
You think I'm?
Yeah.
You think?
I think you're right.
I think you're right.
I agree.
I agree, actually. I didn't know. I thought you were trying to be like, that's the right word, because I've gotten words wrong about 15 times. Jesus joy, God joy, whatever.
I don't know.
Holy joy, maybe.
I think heavenly joy is good.
Whatever, dude. And the point is, like, earthly joy is like momentary, right?
Yes.
And heavenly joy is a lifestyle. Like, you live in a joyous lifestyle.
Yes.
I think joy goes hand in hand with sadness. Like, I think to love, like, there's this whole idea of, like, if you love something so strongly, when you lose it, you should feel sad.
Yes.
And, like, heavenly joy, like, if I love you so strongly as I do, and then you move, or, you know, whatever, like, we lose, like, this type of relationship, then, of course I'm going to be sad.
Yeah.
But that's a good, like, it goes hand in hand with it, like, to love and to lose, like, it's part of it.
Yes.
And so sadness can go hand in hand with heavenly joy.
For sure.
That's something that I think we miss out on. I think people think, I think what people will or can take away from, like, heavenly joy is that, like, well, I mean, I gotta be happy no matter what.
Yeah.
And that's just
that
not
does not mean
That's
you're going to
not
be happy every day of your life.
Perfection was not meant for us. Like, like, perfection was not meant for us.
Yeah.
But I think that's all I have on this idea. I mean, we went on it for about an hour. So, I mean, do you have any notes or anything that you want to go over? Anything that you want to ask?
What do you think the best way is to get out of a moment of sadness? Read the Bible, or what do you do personally?
So actually, I don't try to get out of a moment of sadness. I think a really healthy practice is to sit in it with the Lord.
Yeah.
Is to be in it. As someone, like I was saying before, like I have a problem with intellectualizing my pain, and so to counteract that, I will sit in thought with it, with the Lord, and like meditate in that sadness with the Lord, and that's how I try and get through it. I don't try and get out of it, I try and get through it. Because getting out of it in my head means that I'm pushing it to the side. And so I would say it does include reading the Bible, but I think a lot of it's more spirit-led. Like, sit there and pray, but don't be like, I don't know how you pray, but like, our Father, please deliver me. Like, I mean, it's fine. Like, I get it, but
that is definitely a valid way to pray.
That's a valid way to pray. Not for me.
Yeah.
That's not how I do it. I sit here and I go, God, this sucks, and I want to understand it. I really do. Please help me get this, so I can just be done with it.
Yes.
And that takes time. And the hardest part about that, where people give up, where I've given up before in that, is being like, dude, whatever, you're not helping me at all. Like, you know, like giving up too early. Just stick with it. And you will, like, clarification does not come instantaneously.
Yeah, for sure.
Big word alert. But no, it's not going to happen like that. And sometimes it may. But I would say most of the times it's not going to be like, God, can you help me do this? Yeah, actually, I'll do it right now. Okay, cool. I'm not asking God to send an email. Like, I'm asking God, like, will you help me sift through this hurt?
Yes.
And that takes time. But people don't want to do that. Which
Eventually he leads you to the right conclusion.
Yeah, I think eventually you get to the right spot.
Yeah, for sure.
Whether that takes minutes, hours, days, weeks, years, months, whatever.
Yeah.
I think it's part of a process. Just the same way walking with the Lord is.
Not to go on too much of a tangent, but like I think you brought it up too, and you realize like after something's happened years ago, months ago, that wow, that was God.
Yeah. Several moments in my life where I look back and I go, that wasn't my thing. Like, I didn't make that happen. Yeah. Okay. I credit like going to UAH to that last minute decision to be like, no, I'm gonna go to UAH. Like I have someone who brought it up to me when I was in high school, but my actual decision, I give that to God because was not looking back, out of body choice. Definitely worked out.
I think it did.
Definitely worked out.
I mean, kind of
for personal and for biblical reasons.
Yeah, for sure.
Hold on now. But yeah. Anything else? You got anything else?
I'm good.
All right, thanks, guys. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you want more guests, I'm gonna do it either way because this is my thing. So I love you guys. Thank you for stopping by. Mwah.